So as you all know, this is our last class. So today we will cover some odds and ends. Also, we will also have time. If you have some questions that were lurking, feel free to ask them as well. On our last, so our final project, each of your final projects should be, there was a form that has been sent out, and it was meant to be due today, this morning. And the idea was that if the volunteer staff's idea for that was that if the form was intentionally sent late, so that as to allow was to not allow much time for people to submit the final project, so that no one would start their final project and then try to finish it in a day or something like that. Because everyone I know has been working very hard on their final project over a couple of days and in multiple weeks as well. And because of that, it didn't make much sense to update our honor roll as well. So as a result, our final project submission, the submission deadline has been extended by 1 day. So now you have until tomorrow. You have the rest of today and all of tomorrow, so 24 hours from now. That is when the final project deadline has been extended to. So you now have an extra day to try to submit your final project, and I've noticed that some people have been having some trouble submitting their final project in the form. So the form includes something like a video of you demonstrating your final project. It includes, you need to write a written description of what your final project does. And I think there might be a little bit more. I don't remember quite off the top of my head, but I'm sure our fabulous volunteer staff knows. So be sure to take advantage of the extension. Submit your final project. You can resubmit if you've already submitted and it didn't work. Feel free to resubmit. If you do have any problems submitting your video explanation or anything like that, just please email us. But keep in mind that if you do email us, it's your responsibility to make sure you answer all of the questions that would have been on the quiz in the email that you send us. Okay, for your full credit, to get full credit on your final project. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's go on into today's lesson. So first, we're going to take a look at files. So in the chat, someone tell me, what is a file? A computer file. It can be any file, not just. So what is a file? You know, let's say, what is a text file? Tell me what is a text file. Type it in the chat if you know what a text file is. Right, it's something that's stored on your computer. All right, so let's go to JGrasp. All right, so when we want to create a file, let's create a file in JGrasp. So let's call it, create a new text file. You can create one in JGrasp, or if you're using Windows, you can also use Notepad to create a text file as well. So let's say we wanted to create a text file, and this text file says, hello there. Okay, and then the text file doesn't exist until you save it. So once you save it, that's when it's on your computer and it's in your memory. So let's copy this. So this is called the file path, as I think we discussed earlier as well. The file path is basically the area on your location on your computer of where that file is being stored. So right now our file path is over here. So the file path is basically each folder and then a backslash. All right, and then you also have to name your file. So let's give this file a name. Let's call it let's just say file name for demonstration purposes. And then the .txt here. So can anyone tell me what is this .txt on this file? Type it in the chat. What does the .txt mean? Okay, right, it's the file extension. So it basically tells us what type of file this is. So this is a text file. A text file is just a file that only has like some basic text on it. And can anyone tell me what we learned? What is a way of representing text in Python? How would we represent text in Python? What data, what object would we use? Would we use an int? How would we represent text in Python? It should be easy, come on. Okay, so we represent text in Python by using a string, right? So if I wanted to make some text here, I could say, hello, surround it with some quotes, and then that's a string. All right, so that's how you represent text in Python. Okay, it should have been a straightforward question. Okay, anyway, so this is what we named our text file. So this here is called the file extension. So the file extension tells us what type of file this is. You know, if we wanted to change the file type, we could set this to all files and then change the extension. In case you're wondering, these are not updated honor rolls, so don't think that you're getting a sneak peek or anything like that. Anyway, so here's the file extension. So if I wanted to make this like represent this as a PNG or something, so PNG is a picture, right? A PNG is a picture. So this, so you see, this is an old bug beaters honor roll, and this is a PNG file. So PNG file is basically a picture. There's also JPG, JPEG files. Those are also pictures as well. But in our case, we're just going to use a text file, right? So .txt. So let's save this as a text file. Refresh. So yep, here's our file. Let's open it, and it has what we typed in, hello there. So now we're going to learn how to read this file. So here's our Python program, and we want to read this file here. So let's go to, let's see how that's done. So what you do is you say open, and then here you type in the file name and then the file mode. So the file mode tells us if we're going to read the file or if we're going to write the file. And you want to put these in as strings. So let's go back to JGrasp and let's try it out. So let's say f equals open, and then the file name, and we want to type that in as a string. So let's say file name, comma, and now we want the file mode. So let's read the file. So let's type in R. Okay. So what this will do is this will read the file. Okay, this will open the file, and now the file is stored in this variable f. It's creating a new file object, and it's stored in variable f. So let's run this. Whoops. Fetch file or directory. All right, maybe we need an extension. Okay, great. So remember, you need the extension as well, or else the Python won't be able to find your file. Okay, and now when we look into a file, so files are represented by, can be represented by some sort of text. Does anyone have any idea of how a picture might look like in text? Well, yeah, picture, you can represent it in binary, right? So all of this text here represents a picture. but in the format of a file, in the format of text. Anyway, so now F represents this file here. So filename.txt is F. Okay, so you know what? Let's try to read the file. So we can open the file like this. So you can open it two ways. We can open it like this, or we can open it like this. It's actually better to open it like this, right? That's because when we open it like this, this automatically closes the file as well. So once we're finished doing whatever we need to do with the file, this will actually close the file. If we do it like this, we probably have to close it manually. Okay, so let's say let's change it to make it better. So that way it will automatically close the file. So let's say with open file name as F. So with open file name as F, and then we can say F dot read, right? So all this will do, and then let's store this in a variable. Let's say maybe like file text. Okay, so all this will do is this will just represent all of the file's text, and then store it, it'll take it as a string, and then store it in this variable file data. So then after we do that, just to see what file text looks like, I'll make this lowercase. I'll say print, and then file text, like this. All right, so it read the text in the file, and then printed it. Right? So, but also note, if let's say I had multiple lines, let's say I said hello again. So now this is on line 4, while this was on line 1, right? So I'll save this, go here, and then I'll run it. So look how it prints out the entire file. It prints out the entire file, right? But if it prints out the entire file, then what if you just wanted to read, I don't know, what if you just wanted to read the first line in the file? Maybe the file is a really big, large file. Like maybe there are like thousands and thousands of hello. Maybe it says hello there and hello again thousands and thousands of times. And you just wanted to read like the first line. Well, then you could change this to read line. So now we just get this first line. Pretty nice, right? So there's the read line, and you can also print, you can go through each individual line. So we're cycling through each individual line in the file by doing this loop. Let's try it out. So let's say for line in F, print line. Okay. So this printed out each individual line in the file, but take a look at this. How many lines are in this what we just printed out? There's 1, 2, 3, let's see. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So 7 lines are, and then there's one more line at the bottom as well. So 8 lines, but our text was only 4 lines. So can anyone guess why it printed out 8 lines instead of 4 lines? Just take a guess. It's okay if it's wrong. Okay, so the reason it did that is because when we print out something, it will automatically go to the next line. So if I go back to our Python CLI and say print something like hello, now it goes to the next line. So if I said, let's say I made a Python program, comment out all this. And let's say I made a Python program that prints out something twice. So print hello, and then I'm printing again, and then this time I'm going to say maybe like there, hello there. So when I run this, it does this on 2 separate lines. So when we print something, it just assumes that, okay, you're done with this line, let's go to the next line, and then continue off from there. So, but it turns out that when we're using this this file method, then the file already knows that this is going to go to the next line. But the print statement, it also automatically goes to the next line. So we're actually going to the next line twice, right? So here we're going to the next line and here in this file, and then we're going to the next line because we're using the print statement. So what you can actually do is you can also put in another argument called end and say end equals to, and then type in a string. So this, let's just, I don't know, make a space. So what this does is instead of ending the print line by going to the next line, this will end the print with a space. So it will stay, it will just subtract the line. It won't go to the next line. It will just end with a space. But that wouldn't matter anyway because we're going to the next line in the file. So instead of doubling the number of lines, we're going to print out exactly each line in the file. Okay, so there it is. And you can see we printed out a space here, so that's why this is here. We can easily just remove a space. So now it's just exactly the same as the file. So now you can go and cycle through each and every line in a file. Read through each and every line in a file. So maybe you wanted to search in a file and say, so let's say we wanted to make a function that searches for something in a file. So if I said I is equal to 0, right? If line dot contains, and maybe I'm searching for the word again, then I could say print I, and then I plus equals 1, like that. So as you can see here, this would just go through each individual line and then see if the line has the word again. And then once it finds the word again, okay. Let's make this okay. So anyways, so this would have checked, you could make some kind of method for checking whether the line contains a word again, like that. So, and then when you cycle through each line, you could actually return the line number of where the word you're looking for is. So now you should know how to cycle through or go through deal with reading a file in Python. And Python actually has an official Python tutorial as well for reading files, which you're free to check out. In case you, because this is just for using text files. As you know, there are lots of other files as well. They have like, you know, maybe if you wanted to go look through a picture file or something, or a list, an Excel sheet, or something like that, a different type of file, then there are different tutorials and guides for doing so in that. Maybe if you're working with a lot of data, and maybe your data is in a spreadsheet, then there is a tutorial that would exist somewhere that you could use to just follow that, and then you could cycle through everything. Or if you're trying to maybe you're trying to look in a picture and you're trying to find a picture of maybe a dog or something, then there is a tutorial for that. But the reason we're not going to go into that is because that's much more complicated. So today we're just going to work on text files. So last, we're going to end off this section by talking about writing a text file. So when we write in a text file, all you do is just say f.write, and then you type in a string. So I'll say f.write, and then maybe the string you want to write there is hi. Let's do that. Okay, so let's open okay, so now let's take a look at our file, refresh. So now it changed the contents of the file. So now all it says is the string that we typed in. So we wrote this string to the file. So the file changed. And you won't see the file change unless you reopen the file. So that means you have to close it and then reopen the file. Okay, so are there any questions on working with text files in Python? Okay, so nobody said they have any questions. So I guess I'll just assume that everyone understands. If you don't understand, type it in the chat, or else there's no way for me to know. But anyways, in the meantime, we'll just move on to some more odds and ends. So next is formatting. Formatting is very important in Python. You all know how to deal with things like syntax, right? So syntax in Python is when you're writing a for loop. So for I in range 10, you already know that you have to indent the next line if it's part of the for loop. But keep in mind, if you indented this next line, right, and I said print, and then typed in a string, so maybe like ABCD, right? So can someone tell me what this Python program would do? Just type in the chat what this Python program does. Does anybody know? Should be really simple. Should be straightforward. Okay, so all this does is it just prints out ABCD it just prints out ABCD 10 times, right? So when I run this, there's nothing special, it just prints out ABCD 10 times. And you know that our indenting here is how many spaces? Let's count. 1, 2, 3. 3 spaces. But what would happen if I took away 1 space, right? So instead of 3 spaces, I'm going to give only 2 spaces. Okay, so now there's only 1, 2 spaces. Can anyone guess what would happen now if I ran it? What would happen? If I ran this program, would I get an error? Okay, let's see. Nope, it still works just as perfectly as the last time we ran it with 3 spaces. And sure enough, this works for pretty much, you can change the spacing however you want, but this would work. So maybe you're wondering, well, if any space works, then what spacing should I use in my Python programs? Well, there is an official Python style guide. This style guide is called PEP8, PEP8, and this is, it contains all kinds of different formatting rules that you should follow, especially if you're trying to, publish a Python program, or if you're working in a job and you need to use Python in your job, then refer to this style guide, as it contains a lot of useful information when you're trying to format your Python program. And in case you are thinking, well, I don't want to memorize all of these rules, is there anything very simple that I can do to just follow all the rules? Yes, there's an IDE called Flake8, iSort, and Black, and all of these will help you follow the PEP8 style guide. These are just a few examples that, and they help you follow the PEP8 style guide by just formatting your code for you. So you don't have to go ahead and go to each line and format it. So very useful. Be sure to look into this. Okay, so now let's look at some tools, useful tools in Python. Before we move on to useful tools, just to make sure everyone is still with me, type in the number 1 in the chat, so I know that you're still with me. Okay, so we have some people that are still there. Just try to participate more in the rest of the class. Okay, so tools. So there are a lot of tools that are very useful in Python. So the only tools that you might have learned so far in this class were just, when I'm using a command prompt, if I want to go to a different directory in Windows, I'd use dir, or if I'm using a Mac, I'd use ls, right? And then if I wanted to run a Python program, I'd say Python like this, and then I type in the name of the Python program I wanted to run, and so on. But we haven't actually discussed pip, or how to install different libraries. So let's take a look at this. So what is pip, right? So let's say I wanted to import NumPy, like that, right? It works for me. I don't get any error. But has anyone else tried to import NumPy? Type in, I don't know, maybe type in 2 in the chat if you tried to import NumPy on your own computer. So nobody's tried to import NumPy on their own computer? Okay, that's okay. But anyway, when you're importing something for the first time, you have to do what's called pip install. But don't worry, pip install is something really simple to use. So pip, it should install when you download Python on your computer. It should also install something called pip. So right now, you go to your computer and type in pip, like that, and then hit enter. So when you type in pip, it gives you some information on how to use pip. So pip should be installed when you install Python, okay? And if you're using Google Colab, then there will also be a pip there as well. So how many people, let's take a poll. How many people, type in 1 in the chat if you use your own computer when you're working with Python, and then type in 2 in the chat if you use Google Colab. Okay, so everyone so far says that they use their own computer. So, since you're all on your own computers right now, go to your CLI. So this command prompt, right? Okay, so someone said they use Ubuntu. That's another command prompt as well for Linux, a Linux distribution. So go to whatever your command prompt is. And then just type in pip, like that. Or another thing you can do is, or open Python. So type in Python, or Python 3. Type in Python 3 in your command prompt like this, and it should open a Python 3 CLI like that. So in case you're wondering, when you type in Python 3 in your command line, this is the same thing. This is the same thing as this. Okay, so type in 0 once you typed in Python 3 in your command prompt. We'll give a few seconds for other people to. So go to your Python command prompt, or just go to any command prompt and then type in Python 3. So we're just going to our command prompt, opening our command prompt on whatever computer we're using, and then type in Python 3, like that. Really easy, nothing too difficult. All right, so seems that we've had a couple of people who were able to do it. So now once you type in Python 3, type in import and then NumPy, like that. And you will likely get this error. So if you typed in import NumPy, like that, either you won't get an error or you will get this error. If you didn't get an error, type in 2. If you did get an error, type in 1 in the chat. We'll give a few more seconds for other people to catch up. Okay. So if you aren't able to catch up, just watch along. And so notice here, when I typed in import NumPy in this command prompt, I got an error. But when I typed in import NumPy in this command prompt, I didn't get an error. It just went to the next line without giving me an error. This is because, let's put this on 2 separate screens, 2 halves of the screen. So this is because we don't have the module available. So when I'm importing NumPy, NumPy is the module, and we're trying to import that. But you have to install NumPy. So it's kind of like the App Store on, if you have an iPhone and you want to use an app, you have to go to the App Store and then you have to install the app, right? So for this, it's kind of the same thing or a similar thing. So now go to your command prompt and type in Control-Z. So that should end your Python 3 session. So do Control-Z. So when I do Control-Z, it ends it. I'll do it here too. So Control-Z, and then hit Enter if you're using Windows. Okay, so once you do Control-Z, now say pip install NumPy, like this. Right, yeah, say pip 3 install NumPy. Yeah, say pip 3 install NumPy. So the 3 here just means it's Python 3, so it's pip 3. And then you'll see it downloads. It's going to download NumPy. What NumPy is so now it's like when I'm going to the App Store, right, and I'm downloading an app, it will just download it on my phone, or in this case, it will download NumPy on your computer, right, like that. And then this is the version of NumPy, so 1.19.1. So if you're using an app on your phone, you'll have to update uh, your apps occasionally, right? So maybe if you're using Khan Academy, the Khan Academy app, you have to update that on your phone whenever a new update comes out, right? So everyone's hopefully familiar with that. So this is kind of a similar thing. Whenever a new version comes out, you can update it using pip3. And if you're wondering what some of the commands are for pip3 or pip3, it works. I found it works better for Python 3, which is what we're all using. So you can type in pip3 like that, and then you'll get a list of some commands that you can try. So notice there's an uninstall command. So we just installed NumPy, but you can also uninstall NumPy as well, right? So it's basically similar to your phone when you want to install a new app or uninstall a new app. So now let's try the same thing as we tried before. So Python 3, let's open a new Python 3 session and then say import NumPy like that. And you can see now it works. It didn't give us an error and it just went to the next line. Okay, so someone said their pip isn't working. Do you try pip3? Do you try typing in pip3 install NumPy? Do you try using pip3 install NumPy? If your thing isn't working? Okay, if it isn't working, just try saying pip3 like that. Just try typing in that, and hopefully it gives you a list of commands like this. And if you're really struggling with pip and you're thinking, oh, pip is, I don't like working with these black and white and green command lines. They're really annoying. They hurt my eyes, whatever. Then that's going to bring us to our next tool as well. Whoops, someone's waiting in the waiting room. Okay, yeah, someone was waiting in the waiting room. I apologize for letting you in late. Didn't notice. Anyway, let's continue. So notice here on Google Colab, or actually we'll get into that after we get into this. So maybe you're saying, well, I hate using these command lines. I hate them. They hurt my eyes. They're black and white. I don't like, they feel so complicated to me. I just don't understand it. Well, that's okay, because there is a tool that actually, in my opinion, or in my opinion, I like using this tool a lot more. So there's something called Anaconda. So what Anaconda is it's basically this toolkit that helps you with installing packages and creating and doing a lot of functions in Python. So all of these things that are popping up, that's just popping up because it's loading up Anaconda. And I know all these tools might seem a little strange to you. Maybe you don't trust them as much, but don't worry, these tools are safe to use. MIT uses these tools in their classes, so they're perfectly safe to use. Just be aware that if you do plan to use Anaconda, it is very useful for using Python, but it also takes up a lot of space on your computer. Anyway, let's take a look at how Anaconda looks like. So Anaconda, you can see it has all of these tools. These are the same tools that I can use using my command line, but instead of typing in the names, I can just see the picture and then just click launch if I wanted to. But anyway, if I wanted to download a NumPy, I'd go to environments. There's a search bar, and then you type in, NumPy like that, and then hit enter, and then you'll see their list of packages, and here's NumPy. So this checkbox means that I've installed it already, so that's why this is all here. I can update it if I want. I can remove it if I want, and it's a really easy to use system. So just know that this is also another option for you as well. And even if you do download Anaconda and decide to switch back, there is a switch back option where Anaconda has their own command line that you can use. And then instead of saying pip install, you can just say conda install. Okay. Someone says they have VS Code. I haven't actually explored VS Code so much, but VS Code is Microsoft's IDE, I believe, made by Microsoft and supported by them. I'm not aware of its functions as well as I am with these. Perhaps, in case you're wondering, VS Code is something completely different. It's an IDE that you can use. It's just another option. And I believe they also have lots of functions as well that are very useful, especially if you're using Windows. So just be aware, this is another option someone mentioned in the chat. It's great that you have VS Code. Okay, so does everyone understand how they could download or install a package on their computer? If you don't understand anything, I'd be happy to go over it again. Okay, so I didn't get, everyone said yes. I'm going to assume that we're all okay with it. I'm going to close Anaconda and this Anaconda prompt. Great. So next is the Jupyter Notebook. So has anyone tried using Google Colab at any point? Okay, so Google Colab, if you've noticed, they have these things called cells, and you can make a code cell or you can make a text cell. So a text cell is just like you can type in text, so I can say hello, and then that's just it, just text. I can also format the text by using this text formatting ways, so I can make it bold, italics, whatever, and that's that's what a text cell is. You can also make a code cell. So if I said something like print hello, like that, and then you can run the code cell. So this is what's called a notebook, or more specifically a Python notebook. It's a notebook that runs Python, and in notebooks you can add multiple different cells. So that way you're only running each cell at a time, as opposed to if you were using JGrasp, you'd run the one whole file at a time. So a Python notebook is a great way if you're just trying to find, different. Maybe if I had some code here that, let's say maybe I forgot a parentheses, right? And I was trying to print out there. And if I was using a Python file, and let's say this Python file was very long, I spent a lot of hours writing a lot of code or something, and then maybe there's just a small error, like maybe I forgot a parentheses or something like that. Well, that might be really difficult to look for in a Python file, but if I was using a Python notebook like this, where I just run each part, then I'd be able to more easily find which part has an error. So here, I can see that this part has an error, this cell has an error somewhere, then I can easily find it and fix it. Okay, and note that there's also something called Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Notebook, it gets installed automatically if you use Anaconda. But anyways, what Jupyter Notebook is, it is pretty much the same thing as Google Colab. So if I type in Jupyter Notebook, it will open a Jupyter Notebook on my browser once it will take some time to load. Once it finishes loading, and yep, so it basically opens up this whole system of files. So I can go to different folders in my computer. Let's see, so let's go to code, or no, I think it's here. And then let's say, right. And then I can actually open a new Python 3 notebook. And this new Python 3 notebook is running on my computer. So Google Colab, what Google Colab does is it basically just has one of these, has a notebook, a Python notebook that's running, except it's not running on your computer. It's running on someone else's computer, one of Google's computers. So you can just imagine that if the connection between you and Google's computers gets messed up, like maybe you have an internet problem or something like that, I think after like 8 hours or something, they'll end the connection anyway. So this is how you would run the same thing, but on your own computer. So I could say print hello, that's a string. So this is just the same thing pretty much as Google Colab. So I can run each individual line, and it tells me the order that I ran them in as well with these numbers. Okay. So just leave that, turn this off. And then to close a Jupyter notebook, just the same thing as closing anything in Python. It even tells you here, use Control-C to stop this server and shut down all kernels. So I'll just do Control-C, and that will end this Jupyter notebook. Okay, so that's another tool you can use that should be very helpful. All right. So are there any further questions? That's it for today's lesson. Thank you for staying this far in in our course. We might have another Python course, so be on the lookout for that. The class is not over yet. It's still 11:50. We are going to plan on doing some practice problems and answer some questions that anyone might have about anything in this class. We will release the honor rolls once everyone submits their final project. The form link is the same as sent in our last email. I think it was sent around Thursday. So just be sure to submit your final project. If you have any problems with submitting your final project, don't go to the forum and type in, I had problems submitting my final project. Email us, because that's the reason we gave you our email. So you can email us when you have issues. Okay, so feel free to ask questions. We're going to go into the practice problems for today now. So these are Java problems. So that way you won't be able to look up the answer and on Google in Python. I know that some of us love looking up answers. So just try to take a few minutes to answer this problem. Here's the description. And we take into an int and a Boolean, and we want to output 0, 1, or 2, right? So just do that in the next few minutes. Once you finished doing this, send a private message copy and paste your code and send it to me privately, and then we'll see if your program works. I won't say your name or anything like that. It's completely anonymous. So we'll just to wrap up, just take the next few minutes and try this out. So I noticed that here it says there's a curly brace. This is because this is Java. If I were to make this Python, it would be def that like that. So just to help you guys out here, so just complete the rest of this function, and then copy and paste your program in the chat, and then we'll see if you're right. Let's see who can do it first. It's like a race. Maybe you will give bonus points to those that answered as well. So, because we're running out of chances to give you points, we're doing our best to give you as many points as you want. We want you to get a certificate to just make sure you participate in the last few events that we have, submit your final project, and try this problem. Keep in mind, if your answer is not correct on the first try, that's perfectly fine. You'll still get points. Just submit it. just to get a reality check, how many people are still working on it? If you're still working on it, type in 1 in the chat. Okay, so it doesn't seem like there are many people working on it. But just to give those few people that are working on it, that are trying, we'll give them a few more minutes. Okay, so we didn't get very many answers. If anyone would still like to try it, this is your last chance. Type in 1 in the chat. I'll wait for maybe like 5 seconds. Okay, let's just go ahead and solve it in front of all of us. Okay, so we're driving too fast. A police officer stops you. Write code to compute the result, encoded as an int value. 0 is no ticket. 1 is a small ticket. 2 is a big ticket. if speed is this variable here, if speed is 60 or less, the result is 0. If speed is between 61 and 80 inclusive, the result is 1. If speed is 81 or more, the result is 2. Unless it is your birthday, on that day, your speed can be 5 higher in all cases. Okay, so let's start off this problem. So let's just start off with the way we would read this. Okay, so write code to compute the result encoded as an int value. If speed is 60 or less, so let's type that in. So if speed is 60 or less, so that's less than equal to 60. So if speed is 60 or less, then the result is 0. So we return 0, right? Okay. If speed is between 61 and 80, so speed is less than, or between 61 and 80 inclusive. So speed is less than or equal to 80, or greater than or equal to 61, then we return, if the speed is between 61 and 80 inclusive, then we return 1. So return 1. And then if speed is 81 or more, the result is 2. So if speed is greater than or equal to 81, then we return 2. Okay, all right. I think someone did submit their an answer. They said if speed is equal to, so I'll just copy and paste. I don't think they did the entire code, but they did a decent effort. So I'll just copy and paste that here so we can take a look at it. So they said if speed is equal to 61, remember here it says it has to be 60 or less if we're going to give a small ticket. So that's why we have this here. And then if speed is greater than 81, then we return a big ticket. Okay, so 0 is, let's see what they did here. They had, if speed is equal to 61, a small ticket. So a small ticket is 1, and we want to give a small ticket if the speed is between 61 and 80. If the speed is between 61 and 80, then we would give a small ticket. I think they just said if speed is equal to 61. So that's not perfectly right, but it's somewhat getting there. If speed is greater than 81, big ticket. So we're only giving a big ticket if the speed is 81 or more. So this should actually be speed is greater than or equal to 81. So like what we did here. And then we return big ticket. So return 2 because 2 is a big ticket. And then else no ticket. So else, if it's greater than or 81 and it's not between 61 and 81 inclusive, then we would return this no ticket. Okay, so return no ticket, which is 0. Okay, so good effort. It's still lacking some things, but judging how not many people tried out this, that was better. Anyway, so now let's try the last part. So unless it is your birthday, on that day, your speed can be 5 higher in all cases. Okay, so let's say if birthday, so the speed can be 5 higher in all cases. So what do you think that could mean? So if it's your birthday, then the speed can be 5 higher than what the speed you're going it as. So let's just change speed. Whoops, it's not typing. Speed. Let's lower speed by 5. So speed minus equals 5. Right? So everyone remembers what minus equals does? Yes? If you don't remember, type it in the chat. I can briefly explain it. Then anyways, this would decrease speed by 5. And let's see if this is correct. Got a syntax error on line 2. So line 2 is this. Oh, right. Okay. It's is birthday, not birthday. So is birthday, like that. And then we need a colon. So let's see if this works. Line 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, right. We have to say speed is greater than or equal to 61. Okay, let's try this. So now we got a report saying if it worked for some cases and didn't work for others. So it says it didn't work if the speed was 85 and it was not our birthday. So let's see. If the speed was 85, then it would be between, we'd go over here. It is not the birthday, so if 85, then we would give a big ticket. So why did we give a small ticket? Or yeah. If any of you see any errors, feel free to point it out. So we gave so if the speed is greater than or equal to 81. Oh, right. That's a good point. This should be and. Let's see if that fixes it. That seems to fix it. So good job to whoever pointed that out. Maybe we'll give you extra points for doing that. Nice catch. Okay, so that gave us all correct. And this also wraps up the end of our class. Thank you to those who tried out this problem. And we'll release the honor roll soon. We'll give out some points for participation, the last few quizzes. Even if you did do the last quiz, please do it again, because please do it again and try to improve on your submission. This is a chance for you to improve on your submission because we've extended the deadline by 1 day. So thanks for coming, and hope you enjoyed this course. Thanks for staying along the entire way, and expect an email from us shortly. I'll see you. It's been an honor teaching all of you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And so with that, we'll end our class once and for all, this Python community class. Thank you so much.